Hi, boys and girls. I'm going to start reading Wishtree, and the author is Catherine Applegate. She's the same author of The One and Only Ivan. I even like this book better than One and Only Ivan. And can you imagine? We all love One and Only Ivan, and I like this one better. Oh, I hope you enjoy it. So it's called Wishtree. And it's dedicated for newcomers and for welcomers. Be different to trees. The talking oak to the ancient spoke, but any tree will talk to me. What truths I know, I guard and sow. But those who want to talk and tell, and those who will not listeners be, will never hear a syllable from out the lips of any tree. By Mary Carolyn Davies, 1924. It's like a little poem. Chapter 1. It's hard to talk to trees. We're not big on chit-chat. That's not to say we don't do amazing things you probably never do. Cradle downy owlets, steady flimsy tree forts, photosynthesize. But talk to people? Not that much. And just try to get a tree to tell a good joke. Trees do talk to some folks. The ones we know we can trust. We talk to daredevil squirrels. We talk to hardworking worms. We talk to flashy butterflies and bashful moths. Birds, they're delightful. Frogs, grumpy, but good-hearted. Snakes, terrible gossips. Trees, never met a tree I didn't like. Well, okay, there's that sycamore tree down at the corner. Yakety, yak, 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 that one. So, do we ever talk to people? Actually talk? That most people-y of people skills? Good question. Trees have a rather complicated relationship with people after all. 1 minute you're hugging us, the next minute you're turning us into tables and tongue depressors. Perhaps you're wondering why the fact that trees talk wasn't discovered or covered in science class during those Mother Nature is our friend lessons. Don't blame your teachers. They probably don't know that trees can talk. Most people don't. Nevertheless, if you find yourself standing near a particularly friendly-looking tree on a particularly friendly-feeling day, it can't hurt to listen up. Trees can't tell jokes, but we can certainly tell stories. And if you hear, and all you hear is a whisper of leaves, don't worry. Most trees are introverts at heart. Who's telling the story? A tree is telling the story. So be remembering that. A tree is telling this story. Chapter 2. Name's Red, by the way. Maybe we've met. Oak tree near the elementary school. Big, but not too big. Sweet shade in the summer, fine color in the fall. I'm proud to say that I'm a northern red oak, also known as a Quercus rhubarb. Red oaks are one of the most common trees in North America. In my neighborhood alone, hundreds upon hundreds of us are weaving our roots into the soil like knitters on a mission. I have rigid, reddish-gray bark, leathery leaves with pointy lobes, stubborn, searching roots, and if I do say so myself, the best fall color on the street, red. Doesn't begin to do me justice. Come October, I look like an ablaze. It's a miracle the fire department does try to hose me down every autumn. You might be surprised to learn that all red oaks are named Red. Likewise, all sugar maples are called sugar. All junipers are called juniper. And all boonjum trees are called boonjum. That's how it is in the tree world. We don't need names to tell one another apart. Imagine a classroom where every child is named Melvin. Imagine the poor teacher trying to take attendance each morning. It's a good thing trees don't go to school. Of course, there are explanations to the name rule. Somewhere in Los Angeles, there's a palm tree who insists on being called Karma. But you know how Californians can be. Chapter 3. My friends call me Red, and you can too, but for a long time people in the neighborhood called me the Wishtree. There's a reason for this, and it goes way back to when I wasn't more than a tiny seed with high aspirations. Long story. Every year on the first day of May, people come from all over town to adorn with their scraps of paper, tags, bits of fabric, snippets of yarn, and occasionally a gym sock. Each offering represents a dream, a desire, or a longing. Whether draped, tossed, or tied with a bow, they're all hopes for something better. Wish trees have a long and honorable history going back centuries. There are many in Ireland, where they're usually hawthorns or an occasional ash tree, but you can find wish trees all over the world. For the most part, people are kind when they visit me. They seem to understand that there's a tight knot might keep them from growing the way I need to grow. They are gentle with my new leaves, careful with my exposed roots. After people write their hopes or tags or a piece of paper, they tie it onto one of my branches. Usually they whisper the wish aloud. It's traditional to wish on the 1st of May, but people stop by throughout the year. Oh my, the things I have heard. And here's a picture of all the wishes on the tree, little tags. There are wish trees in the world. I wish for a flying skateboard. I wish for a world without war. I wish for a week without clouds. I wish for the world's biggest candy bar. I wish for an A on my geography test. I wish my teacher weren't so grumpy in the morning. I wish my gerbil could talk. I wish my dad could get better. I wish I weren't hungry sometimes. I wish I weren't so lonely. I wish I knew what to wish for. So many wishes, grand and goofy, selfish and sweet. It's an honor, all the wishes bestowed upon my tired old limbs. Although by the end of May, I look like someone dumped a huge basket of trash on top of me. What would you wish for? Chapter 4. Maybe a lot of us would be wishing that this coronavirus was over and we all could go back to school. Chapter 4. As you probably noticed, I'm more talkative than most trees. This is new for me. I'm still getting the hang of it. Nevertheless, I've always known how to keep a secret. You have to be discreet when you're a wish tree. People tell trees all kinds of things. They know we listen. It's not like we have a choice. Besides, the more you listen, the more you learn. Bongo says I'm a busybody, and I suppose she has a point. She's my best pal. I've known her since she was nothing but a pecking beak in a speckled egg. We disagree sometimes, but that is the way of all friends, no matter their species. I've seen many surprising friendships during my life. A pony and a toad, a red-tailed hawk and a white-footed mouse. They're supposed to eat each other. A lilac bush and a monarch butterfly. All of them had disagreements from time to time. I think Bongo is too pessimistic, like thinking things are negative, for such a young bird. Bongo thinks I'm too optimistic, thinking things are always great, for such an old tree. It's true, I am optimistic. I prefer to take the long view of life. Old as I am, I've seen both good and bad, but I've seen far more good than bad. So Bongo and I agree to disagree, and that's fine. We're very different after all. Bongo, for an example, thinks the way we trees name ourselves is ridiculous, as is the custom with crows. Bongo chose her name after her first flight. It may not be her only name, however. Crows change names on a whim. Bongo's cousin, Gizmo, has 17 names. Sometimes crows adopt human names. I've seen more Joe Crows than I have seen sunny days. Sometimes they name themselves after things that catch their fancy. Pop Top, Jujubee, Dead Rat. They'll name themselves after some kind of arrow maneuver, like Death Spiral or Barrel Roll, or after colors, Beetle Black. Many crows opt for sounds they're fond of making. Crows are excellent mimics. I've met crows named Windchime, 18-wheeler, and Grouchy Cab Driver, not to mention a few that are not appropriate for polite company. Down the street lives an aspiring rock band composed of 4 middle schoolers. They practice in the garage. Their instruments include an accordion, a bass guitar, a tuba, and bongo drums. The band has yet to perform outside the garage, but Bongo loves to sit on the roof and sway to their music. Chapter 5. Names aren't the only way we differ from crows. Some trees are male, some trees are female, and some, like me, are both. It's confusing. So is so often the case with nature. Call me she, call me he, anything will work. Over the years, I've learned that botanists, those silly souls who study the lives of plants all day, call some trees, such as hollies and willows, dioecious. which means they have separate male and female trees. Lots of other trees like me are called monoecious. That's just a fancy way of saying that on the same plant you'll find separate male and female flowers. It's also evidence that trees have far more interesting lives than you sometimes give us credit for. Chapter 6. One thing trees and crows have in common, in fact, one thing all the natural world has in common, is the rule that we're not supposed to talk to people. It's for our own protection. At least that's the theory. I often wondered if the endless silence is a good idea. There have been so many times that I have wanted to speak up and intervene to help people. I've never said a word, though. That's just the way the world has always worked. Have there been some slip-ups? Sure, mistakes have been made. Last year I heard about a frog named Fly who had been kidnapping in a mailbox. All frogs are named after bugs they've enjoyed eating. When the mailman opened the box, Fly leaped out with a frantic croak. The mailman fainted. He woke up to Fly, who was apologizing profusely, squatting on his forehead. Mailman, frog, apologizing. Clearly, the breach of don't talk to people rule. But as always seems to happen, the incident was soon forgotten. After all, the mailman was absolutely certain that frogs can't talk, just hearing things, he no doubt told himself. Interestingly enough, he retired not long after the frog incident. In any case, when you consider the number of trees and frogs and otters and wrens and dragonflies and armadillos and everything else in the natural world, you think people would have caught on to our little secret by now. What can I say? Nature is tricky, and people are, well, sorry, but most of you aren't that observant. Perhaps you're wondering, if you're curious or a doubting sort, just exactly how do trees communicate? You might find yourself inspecting a nearly pine, perhaps, or an aspen, or a sweet gum, puzzling out the magic. Some speak with the help of lungs, throats, voice boxes, tongues, or people speak with the help of lungs, throats, voice boxes, tongues, and lips, thanks to the intricate symphony of sound and breath and movement. But there are plenty of other ways to convey information. An eyebrow cocked, a giggle stifled, a tear brushed aside. These too are ways you express yourself. Body language. For a tree, communication is just as complicated and miraculous as it is for humans. In a mysterious dance of sunlight and sugar, water and wind and soil, we build invisible bridges to connect with our world. Frogs have their own ways of connecting. Same for dogs. Same for newts and spiders, elephants and eagles. I believe that Skeeter understands me. He talks to me. He tells me things. He just doesn't say it with words like I understand. He just does it with body language. I know he understands me, and I understand him. Don't you feel that way about your pet? How exactly how we do it? That's for us to know and for you to figure out. Nature also adores a good secret. And I'm going to stop there. Chapter 7, no names on the chapter. Chapter 7 tomorrow. I hope you're enjoying it. I love books when the character is talking to us. So it's from the character's perspective. This story is from Red's perspective. Just like One and Only Ivan. Didn't he tell the story? Okay. See you tomorrow.